Hey everybody, happy Friday. Gonna do something a little different today. Oh wow, look at that. Somebody has built a ramshackle shelter out of driftwood, broken branches, and tarps. Boy, any little corner nook and cranny you look, if you're in a city size of San Francisco, you'll see people figuring out how to house themselves. Hmm, that's interesting. I'm at Battery Chamberlain, right by Baker Beach in San Francisco right now. And sorry I got a little distracted there. Interesting though, because what I want to talk about is promises. We've all made promises. We've all had promises made to us. They've been broken, and we've broken promises. Yeah, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a human being on earth who hasn't broken a promise. You know, some are a lot bigger than others, obviously. But, I've thought a lot about it and over the years because there was one huge promise I made um, to my son that when I broke it was like, oh my God, the most heartbreaking thing of my life. Just about. I'd say it's top five. It still gets to me. And what the deal was is I think he was about 11 or 12. Yeah, 10 or 11. And a couple of his friends from school, all in a very short time period, I think like in a 6 month time period, their parents were getting divorced. And it was brutal, of course, on his friends. And it gripped him. Seeing what they're going through really, really hit him hard because he had always had such a secure world, parents intact, working together well. Um, and he was talking to me about it one night before bed, I was putting him to bed, and I could tell it was just a big fear for him that was really working on him. And without even thinking about it, I promised him, I said, Talon, you'll never have to deal with that. Just put it out of your mind. I promise you, your parents are never going to get divorced. You're never going to go through that. And the interesting thing is, I believed it. I certainly believed it. I felt completely safe making that promise. But as soon as I walked out of his bedroom after making that promise, I realized what a heavy, heavy, significant promise that is to make, because it's not totally under my control. And as you know, a lot of things in life aren't totally under our control. But I made that promise. And only like 2 years later, I had to be the one to stand up along with my wife, but I was the one to tell our kids in a family meeting that we were separating. Whoo! And the look on his face, especially, is bad for both. But it's taken me years to forgive myself for that. I've certainly been very careful with promises since. Not that I haven't made a couple mistakes and made some promises that I ended up breaking. But, wow, promises are a big, big deal. Now, my wife and I got through the divorce without, our children suffering any horrible stuff. It's horrible when a family comes apart, but we loved them through it. We worked through our divorce. It wasn't a battle. And we were separated for 2.5 years. It was a long, slow process. And the kids were priority to us all the way through. And, but still, I guess what I want to say is that when you make don't make promises lightly. And I didn't make that promise lightly. And you can ask anybody who's close to me now. I rarely make a promise. If I don't have total control of keeping it, I'm not going to promise it. I'm not. The only promises I make now are promises that are completely up to me and within my control, you know? Like saying, I'll be there for you, you know, to someone I love. I kind of live my life as a promise now to those I love. And I'm very, very careful about what I say. I've become much more of a listener in the last 10 years. And I try to live that ethos of being authentically with the people I'm with when I'm with them, and very much engaged and being thoughtful of what I can do for them and what I can't do for them. And the old me that had a lot of shame issues and felt like I had to earn my worth through my actions. People who feel that way, people pleaser types, they make a lot of promises. It just comes supernatural. I'm going to make promises, because you feel like you owe it to everybody because you're not worthy just as you are. So promises are part and parcel of that game. And, and then practically killing yourself to make sure you keep the promise, even if it wasn't within your power, going over and above. And so I've really come to a place now where I think promises are beautiful and wonderful, but I'm very careful about what I promise and to whom, because it's an oath. It's a really intense thing, and you do a lot of damage to people and yourself when you break a promise. So be careful with those things. Really, before you make a promise, really consider what could happen that could, make it impossible for me to keep my promise. And think it through, because you want to be able to keep your promises, and I feel like these days, any promises I make, I can keep because they're up to me. Of course, telling, one I love that I'll always be there for you, of course, I'm going to die someday. So, but that's not breaking a promise. It's what you do while you're alive. Make sure you can keep your promises. And if you want to promise something that you don't have full control over, then tell that person what you wish for them and what you're going to do your very best to make sure happens, for them in that regard, Don't promise to buy them that thing or promise to take them that place. Tell them, I really want to make this happen. I really hope we can do this. I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen. I'll do my part for us to get there. I'll do my part for us to be able to reach that goal together. I've come to the conclusion that that's a way, way better and more honest, engaging way to move rather than throwing promises out there. I promise you, we're going to do that. Those things can come back to haunt you because a lot of shit can happen in life that can make it so you can't keep that promise. So, hey, that's a short one this week. I've had long videos the last few weeks, and I just wanted to talk about that because it's been on my heart. And there you go. Okay, I want to say a couple more things about that, especially about being on the receiving end of promises. Like now when someone promises me something, I take that as a wish they have for me. I take that as something that they would like to see happen for me. And I don't file it away as, okay, that person's going to do this for me. It's a done deal. That's a lock. It's coming. I take it as a wish. It's their heart making a wish for me. And really, that's what a lot of the promises that we make out of nowhere, they're our heart's desire, our heart's wish for that person. Be it, personal or business, it's what you want to do. And we just shouldn't be making flat out promises if it's out of our control. But on the subject of being on the receiving end of a promise that's broken or clearly left unfulfilled. That shit hurts. Oof, oof. I mean, obviously some more than others. But especially a kind of promise that's like a betrayal. It's brutal. It's actually brutal on both sides of that equation. And it should serve as a wake-up call. If at all possible, when you're in that position where you are betrayed or you have a major promise that's been broken that you were banking on, I would encourage you to look at yourself in those moments, to realize how you had given up some of your power to that person's intent. Like you'd given up a piece of your life, happiness, and security and sense of self almost to that person's promise. Like, oh, thank God they're going to take care of that for me. Or, oh no, I don't ever have to worry about that. I don't have to think about that ever again. When the reality is, you should be taking care of yourself. You should be, not in an insanely independent way, but just because someone promises to do something doesn't mean you should just stop thinking about taking care of it for yourself if it's something that you can take care of too. So I feel like a lot of times the broken promises that hurt the most are when we pretty much said, oh, that one's checkbox. It's been promised to me. It's done. And you stop investing like you should have been, continue to invest in whatever the, manifestation of that promise is going to be, So, man, promises are really a tricky thing. And I just encourage you to use those moments when it's broken, when you've been, betrayed or promise broken to you, as an opportunity to look at yourself. You got to let it go as far as the person. Most people who break a promise don't do so. They don't do so in a mean, angry or terrible, an intentional way. And it's an opportunity, especially if that relationship is ongoing, for you to talk about promises and talk about how it made you feel. And how do we move forward in this? How do we actually build together? Because every relationship in your life, whether it's your children, your spouse, your girlfriend, your friends, it doesn't matter, parents, all those relationships are constantly developing and hopefully growing, and we're learning from each other. And when we disappoint each other is a prime opportunity to learn more on both sides of that coin. So, yeah, you're going to hurt. It's terrible when your heart gets broken and a promise that really mattered to you is broken. But it's a turning point. It's an opportunity like any other challenge. So dive into it and look at yourself. Yeah, you're going to rail on that person. That's an immediate impulse. But really, as with all things, your peace, your stability, it's all rooted in you. It's not outsourced. It's inside you. So even though a broken promise can wreak havoc on your world, you need to look at yourself, because you had a big part of it. You had at least 50% of it because you gave it up. Anyway, that's it for this week. Catch you later. Also, and thank you very much. Just went over 700 subscribers on my YouTube channel. It's really exciting. I like to see that growth, and I'm going to try to do what I can to keep it going. I'll be doing these weekly videos and sharing from my heart. Some will be travel, some will be what I'm doing, some will be stuff like this. You just never know. It's basically a personal video blog, and I like sharing with you guys. So kind of keeps me accountable in a lot of ways. Helps me, and I hope you enjoy it and find it useful.